Welcome back to Make Me a Fan. I'm the Jag.
I'm Pete.
And today is yet another episode of Make Me a Fan Classic. When we say classic, one of us digs up an old, possibly obscure match to show the other, and we react to it, talk trash, or praise it. I don't know. And so it was my turn, and I had a little bit of difficulty picking a match. Encyclopedia.
Yes, sir.
You know, I was really hard on Steve Kern last time with Skinner versus Jim the Anvil Neidhart. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look above my head.
Oof, that was a stinker.
It was pretty bad.
A clunker.
So, yes, clunker is a great way to put it because it moved, but it struggled. And so I wanted to redeem Steve Kern, but I just couldn't.
Understandable.
I even went to the excellence of execution and went to Steve Kern versus Bret Hart for the IC title, and that one still kind of struggled. So at the 11th hour, I had to pick something. And you know I listened to Cornette's podcast.
Absolutely.
And this week, Cornette did a watch-along with the match that I chose for today.
Oh, fantastic. I'll have to go back and listen to that.
I do too. I haven't seen it, or I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah.
I haven't heard his commentary to go along with the match.
That'll be fun.
It'll be fun, because we're going to watch the match, then we'll get to hear Cornette's commentary on the match. So I thought if he's going to do a watch-along for this, it's got to be pretty stinking good. So today, we are watching the Midnight Express.
Versus who?
Versus the Fantastics.
Which time?
I don't know. This is Clash of Champions 1.
Oh man, this is an amazing night. So you understand that like Jim Crockett was first with Starrcade.
Yes.
And then Vince did WrestleMania.
Yes.
And then they did Starrcade, and then they actually counter-programmed in 1987 with Survivor Series.
Okay.
And that killed Starrcade.
Wow, okay.
And in the battle to the greatest year of professional wrestling that you and I ever saw, 1989.
Yes.
This is 1988, and they are striking back at the night of WrestleMania 4.
I remember.
Live on TBS.
Yes.
Oh, dude, this is amazing. You know this is in the Greensboro Coliseum.
Yes.
The famous Greensboro Coliseum.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think Cornette said it only held like 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 people.
Absolutely, and they're all hanging from the rafters.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
This building is legendary for many reasons. This is just one of more than I can count on my hands. Amazing matches that happened in that building between the 70s and the 2000s.
Well, then I did a damn good job picking a match. Look how excited he is. All right. So here's the deal.
I've only seen this match like 7 or 8 times. So oh man, this is amazing.
I have never seen it because, like I said before, I was averse to everything WCW, NWA. The only one for me was WWE, and that was a mistake because there's a lot of good stuff in Jim Crockett and Mid-South and Memphis, you know, and I'm trying to catch up on that stuff now. So if Corny says it's good, I'm going to give it a chance. Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
Because even though we're at the Casa de Pedia, okay, I'm going to hit the play button right about now. Now, before the match started, you said the crowd was on fire, and if I may correct you, Encyclopedia, that was an understatement. This crowd was, oh my God. Like,
now, we also have to get to something else. Now, as you saw, they panned to a row of people that had signs there that said Cornette, spelled out Cornette. That is a very special group of people.
Oh, really?
That is called Front Row Section D. So now that was Section D and that was the front row.
Okay.
And a guy named John Hitchcock, who went to every single match, and all those guys were big Cornette fans. And if you're a Cornette fan, you would actually know this because they talk about it on the 605 podcast. They talked about it on Cornette's show.
I haven't heard
but John Hitchcock is the ringleader of all those guys that sat in the front row of Section D at all of the Greensboro matches that ever happened there. They ruled those seats. It was kind of like the way it is with PCW. I equate that to sitting over there with Kevin and all of the guys that at PCW where we always had the same spot. And like you would watch the video and I'm on the hard cam, always on the hard cam. And that's my story and my legacy. It's nowhere near Front Row Section D. But understand that John Hitchcock and Front Row Section D ruled Greensboro wrestling.
All right, well damn, I had no idea. But of course the Encyclopedia knows and he's coming through with the knowledge. But the crowd was redonkulous.
Oh, absolutely. Hanging off the ceiling, hanging off the rafters, probably over capacity because guess what? This match set the tone for the night. Even though it's the second match in, this match set the tone for the night. And this, between head-to-head, Clash of the Champions did way better than WrestleMania 4. Oh, WrestleMania 4 was the first time they bombed, and we're like, wait a second, they're still competitive. It might be 1988, but you know what? Jim Crockett might win. Jim Crockett might win.
And that was because I've listened to most of the podcast. Because, you know, I listen to it when I go to the gym. It's like my treat for going to the gym, right? I'm going to listen to the Jim Cornette show while I work out. And I didn't want to listen to this part because I wanted to watch it as I listened, because they cue it up, whatever, kind of like we do, press the play button, blah. But So I haven't heard this part, but I heard some of the stuff that he was saying leading up to this about how they wanted to compete with the E. You know, there weren't that many people here. It was on regular television.
Yeah, it was on TBS for the first time, and they're like, okay, how is Ted Turner going to strike back? I know how we could strike back. We'll put it on TBS for free, and this is what started Clash of the Champions that made it into 30-plus actual airings between then and 2008.
Well, see, and the weird thing, too...
Sorry, 1998.
Okay. The weird thing too is they loaded this card.
Oh, of course, absolutely. This is a pay-per-view worthy card for free.
For sure. But what the worst part and best part, however you want to look at it, is they loaded this card. That's what Cornette's saying. They loaded the card, but at the end they knew that Flair and Sting were going Broadway, so they had to keep the matches mostly short because there were so many of them, and they wanted to chock full. I mean, this is a WrestleMania worthy card, and this is a WrestleMania worthy match. Encyclopedia Cornette said he went out there, right? And he's like, we were gonna go burn the place down because they only gave us so much time.
Right. It's like an 11-minute match altogether from bell to bell.
And it's insanity, people. This thing starts off with a brawl, not just a little bit of a fight, a little scrum outside. No, these fools are throwing chairs. They're hitting each other with chairs. They're chasing Cornette around the ring. Cornette's hitting people with rackets. It was chaos. I talked a little trash as I was watching this with the Encyclopedia. I said, this is AEW rules because everybody's in the ring and nobody's getting out, and Cornette's a stickler for the rules. But in this case, this wasn't a match. This was a fight.
Absolutely.
Oh man.
I mean, this is like, you want to know what a good second or a manager looks like? Just watch this.
Yeah.
Just watch anything Jim ever does. And the other thing that is amazing, and I would have totally done this if I was in Bobby or Tommy's shoes.
Yeah.
I would have taken a racket hit any day from Cornette because he winds up like this, but then ends up hitting you with the broadside. And of course, everybody doesn't know that, but it gives the biggest, loudest slap and pop. So of course, you know that I'm gonna lean over and say whammy.
And you see it actually towards the end. They did a slow motion replay. They're recapping the match, and you see the racket come down and it hits like right here on the tracks. It doesn't, and the guy's head goes bouncing everywhere. But it's so clean and it's so smart and it's so interesting the way that you kind of see some of these little tips and tricks. But the people were going nuts. The women are screaming. Boy, when the Fantastics came out, the ladies lost their ever-loving mind. These were like the Rock and Roll Express reincarnated, son of a biscuit. The ladies love Tommy Rogers and Bobby Fulton. They took off those little sparkly jackets and the girls lost their minds. Man, the thing I liked too was when Midnight Express is coming to the ring and the guys try to high five him. One guy tries to grab him and he's just like, get the hell off me. I love the attitude and the heel work from the jump. That was amazing.
That's why Midnight Express are the greatest heel tag team ever, period, sure. Full stop. No one can say there's anybody better.
So, wait, I have a question for you. When it comes to
maybe the Horsemen, but even then they're in between because especially in Carolinas they were baby faces.
Well, and that's the weird thing. I'm kind of getting to the Horsemen because if you look at this super stacked card, okay, you got the U.S. Tag Team Championship, then you have the World Tag Team Championship, and I don't think anybody has done that really anymore. How do you feel about that? It feels like almost an overkill, except when you consider how much more emphasis was put on tag team wrestling back then. But U.S. Tag Champs and World Tag Champs, is that weird to you? Because it feels weird to me.
It does, but watch, I'm going to actually make this into a New Japan spin.
Okay.
So here's the thing is that they have junior tag champs, which is a certain weight limit, so that those are a little bit smaller guys that can fly and do stuff. So like your Kota Ibushi's, but like if you want to see your heavyweights, because like Young Bucks used to be the junior tag champ, so a much smaller stature guy as today's standard. Yeah. Then when you have like Gallows and Anderson, they were the heavyweight champions because obviously they're over 205, and then there's no weight limit, but there's also no weight minimum to be IWGP heavyweight tag champs. That's just a title, but like they have that clear delineation that if you're less than like 205 or whatever it is, I know someone will correct me in the comments. Those are the guys that have the junior tag. So those are the only people that have it. But Cornette specifically talks about that they created the U.S. tag titles because they didn't want to take them off the Rock and Roll. They need to have a second set of titles, and that's why they had the Midnight have it forever because the bad guys can have them. They're just the U.S. tag titles. Or you can trade hands with them back and forth. And
and at one point they had all four, or both.
Yes, but that's the idea is that you can have a second set. It's not necessarily as important, but it helps build those smaller stories that build to a larger story.
Well, and you heard in the commentary during this match, he says, these guys aren't ranked in the top 10 the way the world championship guys are.
Correct.
But they're still some of the best. So somehow the U.S. Tag Championships are the Intercontinental Mid-Card Championship because these guys are not quite ready for prime time,
Exactly.
right? Except for the fact that they're freaking amazing and they could go with Tully and Arn or, you know, the Road Warriors or whatever.
Absolutely.
So I understand kind of the idea behind it, but it almost makes me feel like, sit down, Junior, you're just the U.S. champ, whereas but then the next week it's like, yeah, we're fighting for the world championships. I get it. We need something to fight for. Mid-card titles make sense.
Exactly. You can then start to split your shows in two. You can have 2 house shows at once because the U.S. Tag Champs could be the semi-main or the main if you make it right, especially if you're traveling and you have the local guys challenging. So
for sure.
Again, this is it doesn't work in modern wrestling because modern wrestling doesn't need that stuff. We just look at it like, oh, it's a mid-card title. What do I do with this?
Yeah. I mean, like
but
you said,
in the territory days when you could tour, now you could have 2 shows a night, and
in 2 different places, and they did that multiple times. And so if you got the Rock and Roll versus the Midnight, that's always going to draw. And then you got Legion of Doom or Road Warriors, I'm sorry, versus Doom, okay, or versus whatever.
XYZ.
Yeah. So that's a cool way to do it. And I mean, territory booking was so smart.
Oh, absolutely.
And they made so much money and they drew so much freaking heat. I love the old school heel drama. People hated Jim Cornette. As soon as the Fantastics started chasing Jim, which is a spot they've done a million times, you can tell.
Of course.
You could actually see, I think it was Bobby Eaton, right? Sees Jim run and goes, oh, he's like, oh, it's time for this one, And he goes over there and then Jim comes around the corner, he jumps off with the double axe handle or whatever, and tags, one of the Fantastics. So it's funny to see because these guys worked together for so long and they had so much history and so much chemistry that even in a crazy scramble screw of a match, which this was like a cluster, right?
Well, this is a great dusty finish, instead of normally knocking the ref out and him not being able to respond, the Fantastics were pissed, dumped Tommy Rich, and in came another referee, in all that confusion, they thought they won the tag titles. No, Pee Wee actually said, you're disqualified, the Midnight win. I mean, come on, guys. This is classic heel booking. That pop for them, I imagine they've done that several times in several places, and every time the place erupts. I mean, we're talking Mount Vesuvius levels.
Well, and then the fans were excited when the Fantastics supposedly won the championship. They popped. Now, they did some heel stuff, right? They threw the ref out when they're frustrated because he didn't see the tag
and the table and a bunch of stuff.
And I was like, speaking of the table, he took a bulldog onto the table. He took a couple moves onto a table. Now, it wasn't set up like, the Dudley Boys, but it's still the crowd. You can see the crowd go, oh my God, he just bashed his head into a table. And then Jim Cornette's throwing a chair. And then, oh my gosh, man, it was insanity. People were throwing stuff, hitting each other, tables. I mean, and then Jim, of course, is just waffling dudes with the racket. And they always say in the commentary, with that loaded racket, which made me laugh. It's just awesome entertainment.
It is.
And the finish was great because it wasn't, nobody lost in that one. Right. They kept their heat, they kept their championship.
And it goes to build for another opportunity.
Yep. And the crowd was on fire. And so when Jim says, because he often says, we have the best match of the night, we burned the house down, we had the best match of the night, he ain't lying. Because I haven't seen the Sting versus Flair match because it's an hour long, okay? But
it's an amazing match.
I've heard, and Jim talked about it, he actually went through the whole card, and then he says, I'm going to save our match for last because we're going to do the watch along. So it goes through the whole card from, Mike Rotunda versus Garvin, all the way through to the end. And I was like, yo. And so just hearing that when I was working out the other day, I was like, oh, maybe I can watch that match sometime just for my own entertainment.
Sure.
But after Skinner let me down, this is the win.
This is what you call me a pick-me-up.
Yep, I absolutely. Ref spot was great. I liked that finisher, the rocket launcher. That was so cool. Good.
Super innovative, super high impact.
Yeah.
Especially that there was no more impact in that, but perception, anticipation,
absolutely,
the payoff, the reality, all of those things, all of those things.
And it was
this is what makes this an amazing match.
And the weird thing is because I didn't need to know anything about these guys.
Right.
Like when you said, Jack, tell me about the Fantastics, I'd be like, Tommy,
so-and-so and Bobby, something.
But I didn't care. They're good-looking guys in bright-colored clothes that are sparkling. They had upbeat music, and the crowd lost their mind as soon as they came out.
Right.
Meanwhile, they try to touch Sweet Stan, and he's like, "Get the hell off me! We already know what time it is. Somebody's about to get their ass beat." And Cornette's doing the intro and talking about the schoolgirl's dream and every mom's nightmare. Like, there's no question. Wrestling, like we said this about AEW. I don't know if we ever said it on camera, but like when AEW first came around, and which is what, a year ago,
About an hour.
And it was like, oh, I gotta watch this guy to do my research on this guy. I gotta understand who this guy is.
Right.
Oh, I gotta watch what this guy did in Beyond. Oh, I gotta watch what this guy did in Japan. Oh, I gotta see what this guy did in AIW or, you know, whatever, Canada, whatever. You shouldn't have to do research as a wrestling fan.
You should just be able to know.
You should be able to appreciate the crap as soon as the guy comes out. If somebody comes out, it's Jag versus the Encyclopedia for the Southern California Championship. And if I come out and I got dark music and a big black trench coat and I'm shrugging fools off me walking in the ring, guess what? I'm the asshole, okay? And then you come out with some upbeat music and sparkly clothes and the girls are happy and you're high-fiving the fans. We figured it out. We like this guy. We hate that guy.
Who's the bad guy?
Now we're gonna fight.
Guy?
But there aren't bad guys anymore.
Correct.
We'll get into that another day. But this was freaking fantastic. As if I had to ever freaking say it, Jim Cornette is prolific and gifted, and I enjoyed the hell out of this match. Anything you want to add?
And that's why he has a Patreon where you can go back to the archives and listen to all the knowledge he's been dropping for 10 plus years.
Jim Cornette's College of Wrestling Knowledge. Say what you want about the man. You know, I posted about his alleged racist comments or his sexist comments or whatever. I posted that on my own personal Instagram and Twitter because I felt like a lot of people who don't listen to the podcast don't understand who he is and where he's coming from.
And so, yeah, exactly.
Jim Cornette gets a bad rap, people, and if you don't know, you better ask somebody. And
I've watched hundreds of hours of his DVDs and all kinds of stuff, and him dropping so much knowledge, and it's a thing that, with context and the time, it all makes sense. It was never like the whole controversy of the chicken thing on NWA.
Yeah.
Poor choosing, but you know, it was an analogy and a joke that was done multiple times other places where, you know.
It was created at a time when Ethiopia was at the peak of We Are the World and all that.
All those problems.
So it wasn't a race joke, it was a famine joke, which is also poor taste.
But it was the 1980s, and it was the other thing that was accepted. That was acceptable in that time because it was part of being a heel.
Yes. And I'm old as dirt. I'm 41, people. I remember Ethiopian jokes and We Are the World and stuff.
All of it,
you know?
absolutely.
Hell, look at South Park with Starvin' Marvin. You know, like, come on,
They haven't erased Starvin' Marvin yet.
No, they haven't, but Jim Cornette has a bullseye on his ass. Everybody wants to hate that man.
That's real heat and heel heat, all at the same time.
And the funny thing is, he doesn't give a damn.
Exactly.
He's at home. He's like, because you know, if you listen to the show, he talks about his going to the post office and all the normal shit that he does. And he's like, yeah, you know, I've been social distant for 10 years. You know,
I've been doing this since I got into wrestling.
And he just doesn't care. Exactly. And I love it. So enough praise for Jim Cornette. I guess we are officially Cult of Cornette. Marks and lackeys, if you will. But if you don't,
I'm in the 605 Listener Hall of Fame, so you know that's adjacent.
Very, very true. All right, so that's gonna do it for the classic episode today. It sounds like I picked a good one. And next time, you're up, sir. And I think you said you already know what you have in mind.
Oh, absolutely. We're gonna see a Ring of Honor cage match.
Oh snap! Wow, Ring of Honor. Okay, he's ready. Yeah, look at him. He's armed and dangerous. All right. So what's happening? What are we doing tomorrow?
So we are going to start a new series related to Rhino. We're going to see 3 matches from Rhino in 2006. Now, they're not going to be in chronological order, but they're going to be in satisfaction order. That we'll start with something good, then we'll get to something better, and then, of course, like I always like to storytell, guys, we got to pay off in the third act.
So they're all in 2006?
They're all in 2006.
So is that E? Is that WWE?
No, it's TNA.
Oh, snap. It's 3 matches of Rhino and TNA?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm down for that. So bring your butts back tomorrow at 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 noon Eastern. Hit that subscribe button down below. You know you come here every day to watch this stuff. You know he makes you laugh. You know he teaches you stuff. He makes you learn stuff.
This guy too, though.
Hit the button, people. And then, of course, ring the bell so you're notified each and every time we got a new video. But, of course, we say it every day.
It's 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern.
You damn right, every single day. And make sure to follow us on social media at MakeMeAFan316. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.